Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, your host, joined in studio. Special guest this week, Gill Alexander. You might know him from the Beating the Book podcast. I do that podcast with him every week during the NFL season. We break down the NFL, and Gill, this is it. This is the last week, last game.
It is.
You know, the whole season, where did it go?
It's a little bittersweet, not going to lie to you.
And been a fantastic year of what, you know, people that followed your podcast. I'm sorry, I think of it as ours.
No, I love that you think of it.
You know,
I would want it no other way.
The passion that we put into it, and with the plays and the picks that we've given on there, this might have been, you know, our best season pick-wise. It's pretty close.
2013 was pretty darn good, as I recall, but this has been good as well.
And it's nice, but this is it. This is the end. And what we're going to look at today, in this video, we're going to break down some props. We're actually going to have a couple videos on props. And Gill, I don't know how you do your props, but whenever I'm breaking down props, to me, it's an extension of the handicap of the game, how you see the game going to be played as far as game plans. You know, the coaches sit down, they devise their game plan of what they're going to do. And I'm going to talk a lot more in the video that we actually break down the game. But for the props, all of my props are based on what I'm expecting to see on the field. So obviously, if my handicap is wrong on that, it's probably going to hurt my props.
It's going to follow suit. I'm the same way, by the way, and I think most people, it logically follows that's how you ought to do props. It should be correlated to how you feel about the game itself. It would seem odd if you thought the Patriots were going to roll and then you focused on really positive Seattle props. That would seem a little crazy. I do know of a betting syndicate or two, by the way, that doesn't do it that way. They have sophisticated models in which they're running everything through numbers, and for them it's much more of a you know, of a mechanical thing than that.
And a lot of people, and probably what I'm guessing, and it's something they'll do, they'll take all of these player props, they'll run the numbers of what they did all season, take the averages and that, and that's all fine and well, but for me, I like to look at the individual games, and I see patterns against certain types of defenses, certain type of offenses. You change game plans because you look sometimes and you know, all of a sudden a team comes out that normally runs the football all the time. This particular game, they come out and they pass the football an exorbitant amount. Nobody expected it. It skews stats, and vice versa. If you expected a team to pass, but all of a sudden they're playing a team that's horrible with a rush defense, and they attack that. You know, so I think you have to, it's good to have the averages, but I think you've got to go down and look at the situation of the teams, what they're doing, and what, you know, how you expect the game to unfold.
Yeah, my hunch is they're doing more than just averages, to be honest with you, but I would agree with you, and I think this gets to a broader discussion of handicapping, which is you've got your stats guys, you have a situational guy like yourself, and the answer is always somewhere in between, right? If either of those sides thinks they have the answer, they're toast. You know, this is what makes this so fascinating to all of us. It's really that your style has worked for you for, was it 135 years?
Yeah, 35.
It's been fabulous for you. And so I think that's what makes this. It's all puzzle solving, right? It's all problem solving. And so yeah, with props it's particularly interesting. I go with you. I look at the game itself first, how the styles, and look, with the game against the Patriots, that's always tricky because the Patriots are the one team in the league that changes style from week to week.
Well, I think there's a rumor they have a genius as a coach.
Yes, that is the rumor.
Moving into
There's other rumors about him as well.
Yeah,
too.
Moving into some of the props, and we're going to do some player props, team props. Let's start with one of yours. You've got first reception by Luke Wilson. You're liking that over 8.5. Line is -130. You're laying a little bit of juice with that one. Give me your rationale on that one.
Well, no shocker here. I'm on the Seahawks. And I was on the Seahawks like you were last year. And line movement, we could talk about that. But that's, you know, I really do feel like the Seahawks are the better football team here. And I think the Seahawks are going to win this game. I think they're going to cover. And Luke Wilson has been sort of this, not really a secret weapon, but this emerging weapon for Russell Wilson, particularly since the Seahawks bye, which I think was about week 7, somewhere in there. Don't hold me to that. But since then, Luke Wilson, since their bye week, 22 catches for 401 yards. That's 18.75 or something like that per. I think most famously we recall Luke Wilson getting those long touchdown passes against the Cardinals on the night game. But that's the thing with Wilson. He really is sort of key to what they do now. And when he is involved, it never is this dink sort of passing game. He's not a guy who's running short patterns. When Wilson finds him, it tends to be on the longer passes. Now, I must tell you, right now that line's 8.5. When this was released Thursday night at the Westgate, this was lower. This was like 6.5, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So even at 8.5, I still like it. A little extra juice, minus 130, but I think if Luke Wilson's going to catch a pass, it's going to count.
And you say after the bye week, I think, too, probably the biggest emergence for him is once they got rid of Percy Harvin, too.
That's exactly right.
You know, got rid of him, cleaned the locker room up a little bit. You know, there was some turmoil there. And as the seasons progressed, he's become a security blanket, too. Like you said, he's very, Russell Wilson's very comfortable with him, and definitely an emerging star.
They found their identity, right? They rediscovered their identity. I think with Harvin, they were trying so hard to fit him in, and then, to their credit, cut their losses and said, all right, this isn't really working, both locker room and on the playing field.
One of mine that I'm looking at is LeGarrette Blount, under 14 rushing attempts. Now, when we get to the actual breakdown of the Super Bowl, I'm going to tell you why I believe New England's going to pass the football a lot more in this game. With that said, I've got to look at this game and say he's not going to get the carries. And everybody looks and remembers what they see, the last thing they saw.
So
and they saw him running, 30 rushes I think he had in the game against Indianapolis. But the thing is, he was going against a team that can't stop the run. They were playing in bad weather. They wanted to run the football, and they did, and they had a huge lead, and they kept running the football. If you look back in, I'm a little bitter. This is a guy that, let me,
I smell a rant.
Yeah, you get it. This is a guy that quit on his team because he didn't get into the game.
Who did he play for, Marco?
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I might follow them a little bit. You know, people that know that I'm a big Steeler fan from my days in Pittsburgh. He walked off the field. Yeah. It was the Monday night game in Tennessee. Le'Veon Bell, I mean, I love that guy. You know, he's what the Steelers needed. He can do it all. And Blount didn't get any carries. Quit the team, walked off, and you know what? Tomlin said, bye, we don't need you. And now he lands up on a Super Bowl team. It just, here's a guy that's a quitter, is now playing in the Super Bowl. But getting back to that, since joining the Patriots, 7 games that he's played, he's only had 2 games in which he rushed over the number of carries that's on this prop. So, again, handicapping for the games, Seattle's got a good rush defense. The teams that they gave up yardage rushing to were teams that had a quarterback that was a threat, that can run the read option. Colin Kaepernick, Cam Newton. Tom Brady ain't anytime soon running any read option and doing it. So I don't see them having success running the football, and I think they're going to get away from that. So my first prop is under 14 rushing attempts for LeGarrette Blount, and I'm going to do a correlated parlay with that. My second, you actually can't parlay props, but the thinking goes with the same thing. If I don't think he's going to get carries, then obviously I don't think he's going to get the yardage they have up. It's a big number, I feel, because everybody looks and sees what he did last week. I don't see him getting it. He is a plotter. He's not a guy that's generally going to break a big one. He's going to get his yardage in, the chunks and get the carries. Well, Seattle's not a team that's going to let you do that. The over-under is 60.5, and it's minus 110. I'm taking the under on that one.
So under on carries, under on yardage.
On yardage for LeGarrette Blount. And your last one, we're talking quarter scoring.
Yes.
And you had some good data on your podcast over the years with the Super Bowls and, what quarter gets the most scoring. And you have to love the Super Bowl. You can bet everything. Which quarter, over-unders on the quarters, which quarter is going to be the highest scoring. And you're actually betting 2 of the 4 quarters here.
I am.
Explain to us why and what you're doing.
A couple things before I answer that. First, the LeGarrette Blount thing that you were talking about. The other portion of that works for you is that Belichick, we don't even know. He may very well decide not even to play LeGarrette Blount for as many downs as necessary to get those many carries. Right?
Yes.
He might just be like, you know, we're going Vereen today, or Jonas Gray or whoever. But anyway, I'm on a William Hill UK pod every week during the NFL season. This is what they do every week for every game. Not NFL, but like in their Premier League. They have so many options, as they call it, not props, markets. That's
markets.
What market do you have? So yes, this is great for us. But to answer your question, the second quarter during the regular season is the highest scoring quarter. The data backs that up. It is the highest scoring quarter during the regular season in the NFL. And so here, Super Bowl after Super Bowl, the second quarter is always installed as the favorite to be the highest scoring quarter. Doesn't work that way in the Super Bowl. The last 16 Super Bowls, all the way back to the late 90s, I believe, don't hold me to this, but it was a Green Bay Super Bowl. I'm not sure, but you have to go 17 back to find a Super Bowl where the second quarter was the highest scoring quarter. And so you ask yourself, well, is that coincidence? It's 16 in a row.
Yeah.
After a while, there's something
to it. There's a pattern there.
Though, of course, folks would argue it's still not a big enough sample size. But if you think it through, it does make some sense. This is the final game of the season, right? This is the title game. It is logical that at halftime, a team that is down, or even a team that's up, you're not holding anything back at that point. In the regular season, you're sort of coaching as a volume of games. What are you holding back at this point, right? And so the third and fourth quarter, and the fourth quarter specifically, has been the highest scoring quarter in Super Bowls. It's almost 50%, not quite 50% of Super Bowls. The highest scoring quarter has been the fourth quarter, and recently it's been the third quarter. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the equal amount of money down, whatever your unit size is, on the third and fourth quarter, because I don't know if it's going to be the third or fourth. But what I do know is I'm not betting the favorite the second, and that way I'm going to lock in a profit. That's my strategy.
That's good strategy. And to add to the theory, I think that in the Super Bowl, the second quarter not being like in a regular game is that because it is a Super Bowl and they have that 2-week period to prepare for it, I think the coaches have some surprises maybe you didn't expect. And so you get surprised in the first quarter, maybe something's working. You're on the sidelines, your coaches are up in the booth, they're making adjustments. In the second quarter, you're maybe a little more prepared for what they are running at you that you didn't expect. And that could possibly be why you see a little bit of adjustment with the lower scoring in the second. But then, as you said, when you get into halftime, you're on the chalkboard making changes. And as you said, especially if the team that's behind, you know, if it's a 4th and 3 on the field where maybe, you know, in the regular season, we're kicking, we're punting, you're going for it. And when you're going for something like that, it doesn't matter if you make it or don't make it, because if you convert, you're still on the scoring drive. If you don't, you're giving up decent field position to the other team if you make the gamble and lose. So the second half scoring I like.
That's the logic.
Good.
Absolutely.
All right, that's our first prop video. Guys, if you want to get all of the props that the guys are going to have this week, be sure to check out the Weekend All Access package. You can get everything Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Actually goes up on Thursday through Monday, all football, all basketball, from a capper of your choice for $69. Great way to lock in somebody, and you'll get all of their plays. All of the pros will have their Super Bowl picked up along with props, and you'll have a ton of action. So check out a Weekend All Access package from your favorite capper. We're going to come back and take a look at some more props here on WagerTalk.com.
Good stuff. You're a professional.